You're listening to the Hot Seed Podcast. Welcome all. I'm Sean, along with my co-host, Earl.
You.
Dave.
Yes, sir.
And you know what it is. We're just dads with mics, gamers with headsets, and a whole lot of unfiltered conversation. And as always, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Hot Seed Podcast. Be sure to listen, like, rate, review, share, and most importantly, enjoy on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite shows. And go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel, guys, at the Hot Seed Podcast, where you can actually, comment on the show and all those things in between. And, of course, as always, if you don't feel like doing none of the shit that I just asked you to do, you can skip all that and you can just go directly to our website at thehotseedpodcast.com and support the show and get 20% off your merch when you become a supporter of the Hot Seed Podcast Plus. And again, very important to listen, like, rate, and review. Rate and review the show. That lets us know how we're doing. It definitely pushes us up the podcast charts to get more visibility out to you guys. We've been doing this thing 4 years strong, and man, oh man, it has been a ride. I feel like we started this shit where we're starting it right now. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're just listening to it for the first time, I don't know what you're talking about. The election. We started this in 2020. Yeah. We was on the backside of COVID, September of COVID. Donald Trump was the president then. 4 years later, and I'll be damned, this mofo is about to be the president again. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? And not much has changed, guys. Not much has changed. I mean, we've got a little older. Kids have gotten older. My beard has gotten longer. Dave got glasses. Earl's still ornery. But besides that, it ain't changed. Before I get into that, though, how we doing, guys? Before I even jump into the topic, how we feeling, man? How you feeling?
I woke up this morning, so I'm good.
Okay.
All right, now. What that means?
You know what? I don't know, because it's kind of crazy if I'm being honest with you.
Right.
Like, I'm sitting back. It was a long ass night. Not so much for myself, but just to see like the panic on my wife's face and all that type of stuff. And she hitting me probably every half an hour with an update. And, I don't stress myself out about half this stuff, but just to see how stressed she was, and it was on a whole different lane on so many different levels, not just the fact of being a woman out there in this world right now, but for what she does for a profession, Trump ain't too much for that on the federal worker side of things.
Yeah.
So there's a very calming noise, I guess you could say. See, I did that. It's a calming noise. Like, it's loud in here, but ain't nobody saying nothing.
Yeah.
That's the look that I was getting all today, because it's the unknown.
Yeah.
It's the unknown that's going on. Are certain divisions of the government going to be wiped out? Hey, are certain things relief-wise, schooling-wise, going to get wiped out before she reaches her time of getting her loan cleared? There's a lot of things that it's not as simple as, hey, this man was saying some comments and you didn't like it and you didn't agree. But, democracy is what democracy is. And what I just kind of tell people is this: at the end of the day, I still got to get up. I still got to work.
Right.
I still got to pay my bills. I still got to support my family. I still got to put things away for the future. I still got to grind, man. And guess what? No matter who was in office, I got to do the same exact goddamn things. Mm-hmm. So whether the person that I voted for is in there or not, all right, well, just gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
That's it. Work your way around it. So I tell all the people that are feeling a certain type of way, even the way that my wife is feeling, or even worse, have your moment, you get all your feelings out and everything, but hey, clock back in. Mm-hmm. And for all the social media warriors out there, that hate ain't gonna do you no good. It just really ain't. Right? Like this next week, I don't even want to be on social media. Part of it, I have to, just marketing wise for the business.
Yeah.
But if I had a choice, I'd just turn that joint off for at least a month. Because some of the stuff I woke up to, the recklessness that I woke up to on both sides, I was just
Right.
like, come on. You know, the conversations, the division that was going on. Black man, you didn't support me. You know,
Who said that?
that I ain't here to say who said it. But I'm saying, like, people making comments like that and having whole conversations on social media back and forth. And I'm just like, this is what people wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted that division. Every single time you got something to build you up, especially within our culture, whether win or lose, it's something to talk about and something to have a positive feel on and build on. And it's just a breakdown session. And you know what? Let me just say this real bluntly. She didn't lose because of the black man.
Sure didn't.
Not at all.
Because of the black man. When you want to break down these numbers, she didn't lose because of the black man. So I'm just gonna put that out there in that sense.
Let's talk about
we'll
it.
get into those numbers, but overall, hey, I know some people are feeling a little bit more heavy than others, but like I said, get that stuff out your system because you gotta get back to that grind. You gotta do that work. You gotta do that work. So
What you got?
Before we get into this, I would just say this. For black people that's feeling some type of way, going through some shit, I'm gonna tell y'all, and I say this with love and respect, y'all need to get it together because we deal with adversity. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying? If there's one group of people that understand adversity, ain't nothing to we know how to move forward, you know, and things of that nature. It's the other groups that don't know how to deal with adversity. That's why they start doing certain things when they feel like, you know, their freedoms or their control is at jeopardy. To be honest with you, if we want to be completely honest, and y'all know how I feel about this, we had extensive conversations. Neither one of them was going. Neither one of them was going better. Was going to better us. You know what I'm saying? We're at the point in the junction in politics where we're literally voting for the lesser of the evils. And I was telling my cousin today, I was like, it's getting to the point where parties don't even matter no more. It's about the candidate. You know what I'm saying? It's about the person. Well, I'll leave it there. But my biggest message for black folks is like, yo, I don't know what we mad about. Like, neither one of them was for us, yo. And like we survived 4 years, we'll be all right. If it's one group of people that know how to survive through this shit, it's us. We'll be all right.
Yeah. It was an interesting day. I think Dave said it. No, Earl said it. This was how I know. There is a moral compass that exists in every human on certain levels. And I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing during the insurrection, you know, the thing that became popular with a lot of people ain't know what it was that happened. At the time I was working at the airport, and the day that it happened, well, the day after it happened, is a lot of those people who went to that rally that day that ended up turning into that insurrection. They were flying out of BWI Airport where I worked. And I know a lot of those folks, they flew in for the rally itself. They did not take part in the insurrection part. But as you walked around, this real like cold stillness in the air, like there was not one white person that wanted to look me in the eye or anybody in the eye. They weren't, and they still had on some of their garb too. They didn't want to look at anybody because they felt the shame of what happened, not because they were at the rally, but because what happened at the Capitol. I saw that today. So I'm at work today, and I went to a couple of establishments today on my way to work, and even worked there. Not a lot of eye contact. And these are probably some of the people who actually voted for him. And it was, you could feel like the conversation was very short. It wasn't disrespectful enough, but it was like very little words. There was no small talk. It just felt uncomfortable. And I don't know if it was a case where they were maybe thinking, hey, man, how is he thinking about me or how I was thinking about them, which I won't. But they felt like that shame, which is interesting, considering how this all went down. Well, we're going to get into that in a minute. But besides that, I woke up, I was up till like 1:30, 2 in the morning. And starting off early on, very early. And, CNN does those projections and it felt a little different. I think he jumped up, by like 100 electoral college votes and she was like at 22. And I was like, this don't feel right. And I went to bed and I'm like, man, there's going to be a lot of folks in the morning who will be upset. And I said all to say this, though. It didn't hit the same way. Like what Dave said, I still had to work this morning. I still had a staff that reported to me. And for me, and I say it all the time, and sometimes I do it jokingly and I may do it haphazardly, but that's me. Me studying Buddhism, I've learned so many lessons to accept people and not let things like take me outside of that middling space. And that's how you got to feel, because at the end of the day, man, you can't let yourself be suffer so much, because it takes you off of the path of where you're trying to be, which is really just being at peace. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, all three of us and everybody else out there, we're going to have to get up. We're going to have to grind. We're going to have to make sure our household is taken care of. We want to come home, pop our corks, whatever we do, and be at peace, no matter who's in office. It's at the end of the day, yes, we want to bypass the bullshit of those who kind of support that, but that is ultimately where we're trying to be, no matter who's in office. So let's get just right on into it, man. Election 2024. Let's start off with the first part that we talked about before. I don't know the exact numbers, so I'm just kind of giving like a rough estimate. Vice President Kamala Harris, and I'm gonna give her that respect. She's the current vice president of the United States. She's only been campaigning for roughly about, I feel like 120 days, roughly. I could be off. It ain't been very long, because it wasn't a year-long thing. Yeah, it hasn't been a year-long thing. And our argument, when we talked about on previous pods, was the fact that they're coming up on a 4-year term. Mm-hmm. We have barely seen her as a vice president. Mm-hmm. We saw our current President Joe Biden, pretty much he's withering. We've seen him not be very lucid and stuff like that there. And all of a sudden, pretty much get kind of pulled out of the eyesight of us. And then next thing you know, she gets the endorsement and she's out there on the campaign trail. And then the result of it is what you got last night. So first, starting off that, was this avoidable? And who's to blame? You got it.
So part of, and I'm glad you touched on this, part of my blame goes to the Democratic Party, because they didn't really set her up for success, right? Reason being is because for the reason that you just mentioned, right? Because I would say out of all the presidents, right? And I'm thinking back of all the vice presidents, even if I don't know exactly which your stamp was, I would say at the bare minimum, I could say that I've seen all of them. Like, they were visible in some degree, right?
Right.
She's probably the first one that I could say that wasn't really visible for whatever reason. I'm not going to sit up here because I don't have the knowledge to say that she didn't do anything, but just the fact of just aesthetic alone, she wasn't visible.
Yeah. Right.
Ooh, we good?
I'm good. Well,
that's on you.
You're delaying a little bit. I was just clarifying that I wasn't saying that she hadn't done it. I was saying we hadn't seen her. That's all I'm saying.
All right, yeah, you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
We hear you.
All right.
Were you done?
All right. Oh, that's me. Okay. All right. So the next thing is, they didn't set her up for success because especially as somebody who, this lady is a double minority, right? She's black and she's a woman. You have to make sure that she's good to the point where America, or you have touched enough souls and touched enough places to where those people, especially i.e. white men, and shoot, I ain't gonna say white men, I'm gonna say men, white women are comfortable with the fact of not only a woman potentially leading the country, but also a black woman leading the country. What I also learned is that, and this might be wild and y'all might disagree, but it kind of shows. I think as of right now, America is more misogynistic than they are racist. And it's not by a crazy margin, but I think we showed that we really don't fuck with women. But I honestly blame the Democratic Party because, like, my thing is, like, you knew respectfully that Biden wasn't in good health to run the second term. Like, anybody that expected him to do that didn't care for that man. But instead, y'all could have set and segued, if not her, somebody to prep them to be ready to run against Trump. Because despite what they say, Trump won. He has a following. And then if you're not giving somebody a real competitor, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like after his first election, it was like, all right, Biden is safe. Like, all right, we can rock with Biden. Old white man. He been in politics for years. We gonna rock with him. You gotta find somebody of equal stature that white folks feel comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? And this wasn't it. So like I just really feel like the Democratic Party, they really need to regroup. Because they also got away from what they used to do was really target the working class. You know what I'm saying? They ain't really touch on that. So some of this I blame on the party. But I'll let y'all go.
What you got, Dave?
Earl was echoing a lot of stuff that I've echoed in the past, so I'll just let that stay there. But here's some other stuff. Let's just say it. They pushed on an issue that wasn't of number one importance.
Got that right.
There were two things that they were pushing on: abortion rights, and they were pushing on the fact of basically his stance in general. Like, you don't want to go back to the dark ages of Trump.
Yeah.
So let's touch on both of those things. You know my stance on the abortion side of things. But, and I said this to you offline, Sean, when you compare that up against the money in my pocket, and do I have it on hand, and does it stretch as far as it stretched 4 years ago?
Right.
9 times out of 10, that person is going to pick to have that money in their pocket.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's just what it is. You could turn it into any type of not for the woman conversation that you want. But the reason why I'm pulling it away from that, because a lot of women voted that way too.
Yep.
White women said, hey, while we can vote on the fact of, because remember, that was on a lot of people's ballots too, by the way. Right. I can vote on the fact of having those abortion rights within my state. I still don't have to vote for you. And that's what people didn't realize. I could separate the two. So, hey, thanks for bringing that up. Let me protect these abortion rights, but I still don't want you in office because you're tied to the past. And that's where they set up for failure. Because what a lot of people aren't talking about, we heard it real quick before we just came on CNN. Sean and I just heard it. I just heard somebody say, so she gave her concession speech very good over at Howard University and stuff like that. So she'll be setting up for the future. I'm like, she's not the leader of the party.
She sure ain't.
She's not the leader of the party. Y'all just screwed her future.
Sure did.
That is exactly what just happened.
Yeah.
So if you think you're about to ride that coattail of hey, let's see what Trump does and then try to push this same thing on out there, you're living in that same fairy tale of where you thought Hillary was going to come back out.
Right.
And I'm telling you, don't cash in on that. Don't bet on it. There's probably a bet out there. Don't bet on it.
Don't put something on it.
I definitely looked on FanDuel for last night to see if they had the presidential race, because I was going to put on Trump.
Yeah, don't bet on it, because let me tell you where a lot of things go wrong. And Sean, you and I can go back and forth on it because I don't want to take too much time on what you got to say. Go look at the map. Go look at areas more than half the country where blue doesn't even touch. I don't care what election you're looking at. Ones that the Democratic Party won.
Right.
Over half the map you don't even touch.
Yeah.
I've always said, don't talk to me about my needs and your needs when it's an election year. Talk to me when my vote is not on the line. And that'll show me that you care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And the Democratic Party is highly at fault of only waking up every 4 years and expecting our vote. And I'm going to say it that bluntly. Expecting our vote.
And it's crazy. In our lifetime, probably our greatest president, Barack Obama, literally said that. And what he said was, I'm loosely quoting, he said, some of you understand that your question might be, how come you guys only, how do you say it? How come we only ask out in your area there when it's time to vote? It's still loosely quoting like that. So he said that. So he himself actually pointed out the fact that, and it was crazy because people didn't catch that. He was like, I understand. Some of you was like, don't be the person to be like, well, you guys are only asking for my vote because this point here. But then on the flip side, he was, and this is the part that kind of it's the point. It was like, hey, I understand that the Democratic Party has not really touched base with you recently, but don't cast your vote the other way towards this guy who don't really care about you, because your Democratic representatives haven't really touched base with you. So in kind of in the same way, without saying the really, really harsh and horrible things that has been said by that current president and such, neither party really gives a shit about you until it's election time. That's pretty much what that comes down to. Yeah, I understand, man. They ain't really been out there. We ain't really, hollered at you in a little while. But not voting on this side, you're choosing to go over here for a guy who clearly doesn't care about you. To Earl's point, the lesser of two evils. And this is where you fall into it. You got a president who, a president who not only a incumbent president, no, how you would call it, the elected president coming in, who not only won the electoral college, but also won the popular vote.
Yep.
By a substantial amount.
Stay there for a moment. Hold on. Stay right there, because I want to give you a little bit more on numbers.
Right.
People are looking at electoral college. Let me tell you the real eye opener. Places that she won, she didn't win.
Right.
Places that she won, she didn't win. And the reason why I say that is, go check out the numbers and go compare them to 4 years ago when Biden won.
Right.
Hell, even some of them go back and compare them to Hillary. And the reason why I bring that up is because places like Jersey was supposed to be, oh yeah, got that in the bag.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, I think it was a difference of like 5%.
Right.
New York, same type of way. Places that are supposed to be in the bag. New York hates Trump.
Right.
It wasn't so easy. You get what I mean? Now, here's the real number for you, and you could really pull up the exact numbers on it. I saw it earlier today.
I have it up on my screen right now.
The way that she was supposed to win, this is always the path, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that she was supposed to win, there's 3 main areas. There is the rural.
Yep.
You got the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the urban.
Right.
Let's go through each one. The rural, she lost, and she lost dramatically.
Yeah.
But she was supposed to. Okay. The suburbs, she was supposed to win. She lost it.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, I think it was about like 51, 52 to like 48%.
Yeah.
She was supposed to win the suburbs. She lost that. I'm talking about as a nation. Forget just state by state now, as a nation.
Yep.
So she lost the rural areas, which she was supposed to, dramatically. Trump squeaked out the suburbs, which she was supposed to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then in an urban area, even though she won, she didn't win the way she was supposed to.
Yeah.
So when you have that type of breakdown and you say, where was the loss in connection? It's not just one group. It wasn't just one group. So that's why when I see people just saying, oh, it was you. Oh, y'all should have. No. You're hearing it right now. This was a national mandate. This was a straight no. We're done. That was the nation saying, look, I know he's saying A, B, and C, but I'm not going this way. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And one of the faults was she couldn't separate herself enough for when Biden ended and where she will begin. Yep. She was a continuation. And this part I will put on her. They've asked her a couple of times her stance on things.
Yep.
And what she would do different. And she hardly said too much.
Thank you. So thank you.
And that was it.
And that was so the one debate that they had, and I think we talked about it before, and they was asking questions. And instead of expounding on that, she went into things that off the rail shit that Trump said. And the thing that this party has decided to do was, hey, look, this guy said that immigrants or migrants are out here eating pets.
Cats and dogs and stuff.
This guy says this, that, and the other. This guy says this, that, and the other. So they painted him as this guy who was really off his rocker. Meanwhile, your current president is not even lucid as some of his own State of the Union type situations. Meanwhile, you got your vice president, to Earl's point, has been kind of in the background from the very beginning. And then what happened was, and I don't know if they agreed to this or they just really want to there. And so what they do is, hey, look, man, hey, Barack, hey, Michelle, or more like, hey, Michelle, we need Barack and you, or you and Barack to go out and kind of like get the folks right to us.
Mm-hmm.
We need your help. Because, and that's it. And those are the only folks that people listen to as a rah-rah situation. But Barack Obama ain't running again. Michelle Obama.
But they were even angry to be there, bro.
They were not.
To be put in that situation, they were angry.
Yes.
I mean, people going off on Barack's words, but you could just tell. It just shot off the cuff. Like, I ain't running no more. Like, yo, y'all need to wake up. Do you know what's about to happen? Mm-hmm. That's how he was speaking to folks. This wasn't no clean cut. Let me just put
which
this
goes to what I said when he said that. He said, I understand for you guys who are like, yeah, I understand. You know, the Democrats only come around for your vote, but don't vote for the other guy. So he let you know right then. Yeah, I get it, guys. We haven't done what we were supposed to do. He's talking about the party, but don't go for the other guy. But to your point, Dave,
that's not even a strong argument, because my whole thing is like, at some point, if you sit up here, and this is why you have some black folks, even though I don't agree with it,
mm-hmm.
At some point, if they keep saying, you know what, I've been getting a bunch of empty promises from Democrats for years,
right?
And like, it's like, at what point am I just going to stop voting because we saying that this is the right, this is the norm? You know what I'm saying? Yep. And it's like, some people are like, yo, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with X, Y, and Z, but what I do know is that he is going to do this. Exactly. Or he is telling me something different. and potentially showing me something different than what Democrats have not shown me for years.
Yes.
So that's why I went and I started my conversation with saying, like, I gotta hold the party accountable because, bro, like they need to go back to the drawing board because, like, yo, it's about time that people are getting tired of this shit. And it's like, yo, people are they're getting to the point where it's like, yo, it's not good enough just to vote for the lesser of the evils. Like, I need something.
Yeah.
They need new ideas.
Yeah,
They do, man. And
that's what they need. They need to build up this younger culture. You got a Wes Moore out there. You got Shapiro out there in Pennsylvania. You got who's the one out there in California? Gavin Newsom. Like, you got, I think there's at least a good 2 handful of people, younger generation, with different things on their mind that they'll come out there with. Stop doing the same old.
Yep.
People were impressed with the Barack thing, not only because it was something new visually.
It sounded,
but he had a different feel to him.
Yes.
He was saying different things that people weren't saying before. And people were like, yo, you know what? Right. Who thought he was going to come out and win Iowa?
Right.
Not I. Not I.
I saw they were like, we were so spoiled on the Barack electoral. They said niggas had the time to cast their vote and make it to the club that night. That's how quick he won that race. And it was like 370 to 100. Now he was going up against McCain at the time. But even still, and then he ran for a second term. Like, it was like that.
But you know the crazy thing too, Dave kind of touched on it a little bit. Well, one, the freaking, I knew she wasn't going to win early on when I saw that she ain't even had a popular vote.
That's where we're right there. So
and I was like, when she ain't had a popular vote, because I'm like, that's one of the things that I would say that Democrats have been controlling. But the other problem I had is that, and I told my cousin this earlier, I'm like, yo, when Barack was running, he won Florida.
He was everywhere.
And he won PA.
Yeah.
He was everywhere, man.
The first time a Republican has won the popular vote in 20 years, and that was George W. Bush in 2004.
Crazy.
But you gotta, my thing is, you gotta go everywhere. There's areas they don't even go because they say it is what it is. Well, it's not, it is what it is because you called this thing the blue wall.
Yeah.
And you lost it.
Yeah.
Stop calling things yours. It's not yours. You almost lost Jersey. There is nothing that is yours.
I'm gonna say something right now for you, Dave, on that. So I'm looking at, I'm pulling all these numbers up. So it said voters gave Trump the edge on their top concern, the economy. So you go into these rural areas. So I've been reading all this stuff, keeping up with it, man. And one of the big things that people forget that we do, even though we have all this fancy technology and stuff like that, there are still rural areas in the world that supply things like corn and stuff like that. I don't know why corn is the first thing comes to my head, but yeah. And so I'm reading that stuff, and what people don't know is some shit that's happening, and this is on a whole nother level. And I don't know at what point that this fall apart, but investors, so there are outside sources or outside entities that are buying a lot of this land and buying a lot of this land, literally, and they're leasing it back to the farmers. Run that back one more time. There are outside entities that are buying a lot of this land, in this rural land, and they are leasing it back to the farmers in a lot of these rural areas. So the question for some of those farmers, like, hey, what are we doing? Because if you're leasing, that means you don't own shit. See what I'm saying? Like, you're having to pay a operating cost for all the hard work that you're doing. If anybody has ever owned an apartment, and you're paying rent every month. And then on top of that, you still have things like maintenance issues and stuff like that. And you're having to move and realize that, what did Dave say? If you are a renter, how much are you paying in interest? What do you say?
Mm-hmm.
You're paying 100%. That's an issue. So when you're a Democratic person and you say, you know what, I'm not going to go out to these areas because it is what it is. Nah, you need to go holler at them and say, hey, this is what we're going to do to listen to you guys about that.
And that's definitely what you got to do. Because like I said, I go back, go check the numbers. Places that she won, she didn't win.
Yes.
Because the numbers are low.
Very low.
The numbers are low. They're going into different counties and they're like, oh, you're supposed to pull this. Oh, yeah. Wait till the number for Philly comes in. Nah. Nah. Wait for the number for Detroit to come in. Nah.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't that huge of a gap of what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you that. You talking about that number right now. So New York City. Let me pull that right because I got the whole map thing up. It's kind of cool. I think
it was like 11% for no, it might have been a little bit more.
All right, so you got the state of New York. She won the state of New York 55%. Let's say it's 56% to 44%. So she had 4.3 million against his 3.4 million.
I think Jersey was like 5.
Right. But then you look at, a lot of New York is very rural, guys. If you guys didn't know that portion,
the whole upstate.
Yeah. All right.
New York ain't just New York City.
Yeah, one of the most populated states in the country. Of course, you got that. But even so, you look at that, but you didn't get anything outside of that. And then you go to a state I was just looking at that she had won, but the percentage was so small. So I'm looking at, all right, look at my home state, Virginia. She won Virginia 51%.
That went to the wire. Yeah.
So she got 2.2 million. Donald Trump got 2 million. And of course, she got places like my hometown, 757. She got Richmond, all the rural areas. But there's other areas, man. You guys, it matters. It matters. And so much of that damn map is red. Bruh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And that's including DC. 20. Well, Hawaii.
Well, the reason why I'm saying for you to look at this is because, and this is not a her thing. This is the party thing.
Exactly.
They focus so much on the things that they feel they have already anyway.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you got to start focusing on these things that you're not touching. Even if you don't win it, you got to lower these numbers.
Exactly.
That's what you got to do. You got to bring your numbers up and lower their numbers. But they're so content on just believing what they believe and, hey, we're going to have this. Once this comes in, we're good. That means you're missing out on a whole set of people, and they know it.
Right.
And all they got to do is be woken up by a sleeping giant. Like, hey, I'm listening. And that's all he did. They don't care what he's saying out his mouth. They don't care.
We watch reality TV, bro. We literally watch. He was a reality.
CNN can play it as many times they want to and give so many takes on it. Right. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Because like I said, at the end of the day, people are going to look at their pockets. And that's it. And honestly, he could have just ran his campaign and it had nothing to do with her. All he had to sit back and say at each and every rally, was your life a little bit better, especially financially, 4 years ago?
Right. And that's
it.
People, and they're not going to do the research on it. They're going to be like, you know what? You're right.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely
people
right.
Are led, man. They're led.
It is. And but this goes to another thing I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, humans, we like to be a part of stuff. Whether we like to be a part of a fraternity, sorority, we like to be part of a gang, we like to be part of a group. And a lot of this election was people voting because they were part of a particular party. And I'm not talking just presidential, I'm talking about local as well.
Yep.
And because they have been part of the Republican or the Democratic Party, whether it was something that their parents told them they had to do, they felt like, you know what, I'm a Republican by whatever. It's kind of like being a sports fan. Like your parents was I'm just gonna put a Washington Redskins fan or a Giants fan. You know, I got to be that too. I'm a Republican because my dad and my mom was. I'm not changing, so I'm not gonna go and vote for a Democrat, even though, or vice versa, even though that person may be the better person for the job. And a lot of that went down over this election. And at what point, and I'm gonna ask you guys, at what point do we look past the red and the blue and really pay attention to the message of, that makes sense, and vote for that person instead of being stuck on the party bullshit? Because again, there were some nominees or however you want to call this thing that lost that probably shouldn't have, but they lost on the aspect of he's a Republican, he's a Democrat.
I want to. Oh, go ahead.
My bad. Real quick, I personally think there was sprinkles of it around Obama years, but I really feel like it was prevalent after Trump's first term.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's when you saw when he was just like kind of fuck Republicans, like my followers are bigger than your base. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's the MAGA movement.
Right. And he wasn't lying. And what you know of Republicans, if they don't do nothing else, they stick together. You know what I'm saying? But this is probably the first time where I actually seen like, damn, Republicans like, nah, I can't fuck with him. Especially after that insurrection. It's like, nah, I can't fuck with this shit. I mean, you had your own VP who's like, nah, I can't rock with this. But I think now, after you had Biden and, people not being happy with that and just he's been carrying himself and his disposition, is like, nah, we can't have this shit. And then you see, then you leave her, and I mean this in no disrespect to her, but you leave this sister up here to say, you know what, this is going to be my successor. Nah. So for me, I thought it was after his first run at it.
So I'm gonna go a step further on what Earl said, but I think it was before that.
Okay.
So the division happened going into Barack's years. It wasn't after.
Gotcha.
And the reason why I'm gonna tell you that is because if you remember, he had full reign for the first half of his first term. And then that's when the House flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing was getting done because they basically stalemated. They were like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. We're not even going to bring it to the floor. We're not even going to vote on that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're not even going to do that. And that's where the people got to hold these people accountable. And I'm not even talking about no president and vice president now. I'm talking about the Senate, congressmen, congresswomen, those people that you put in there directly in that sense that are supposed to be an extension of your voice. That's all they're supposed to be. The extension of your voice. Your area of wherever you're coming from and representing, that is not a party thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a state thing. Mm-hmm. My state needs this. Period. What Maryland needs is not the same thing as what New Jersey needs, and vice versa. So you speak on my behalf, and when you go there, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you need to be that voice. And that's where we need to hold that accountability at, because they get in there, and from that point, during the Barack years on, it's been so much of a divide that nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize we don't pass a budget none of these years? We just kick it down the road. We can't even pass a budget. They can't even decide on both sides how to pay their bills.
How many government shutdowns have we had? At least 3? I feel like we've had at least 3. Yeah.
It's always going, but this is all the time. Even when they tell you that things are passed, they're not passed. They push it like a couple months down the road, and then you're right back at the budget. It ain't supposed to be like that. You guys can't even account for your own bills. That is ridiculous to me. I wish we went back to the years of we put you in a room, you guys got to vote on something, or else guess what? You don't come out.
Because I feel like we got
something got to pass.
We got to the point now that I think as a country, the 90s was such a spoiling aspect of our lives when we were out there just living free. Remember how much credit was being given out and everything else in between? That housing crisis and the bailouts and all that, we got used to that shit. So to now, to your point, Dave, when they have to have this discussion about how we're gonna do this, you got representatives of different states who are like, well, my state's not supporting it, like because they now it's all for I'm trying to protect my own seat, which goes to the other situation.
They're thinking about the next election. That's it.
They think about that like I don't want to be voted out.
They will backstab their own wife, bro, and that's literal.
I'm trying to give it up.
Trump has talked about people's wives and they roll with them.
Yes, and we didn't even bring that to the table. How long some of these representatives are staying in these seats and they don't want to give it up.
It's ridiculous.
And they were like, you know what? I'm not trying to give up my seat, so my state's not paying for that. Because my folks don't want to do it. And they're not thinking about the state. They're thinking about, oh, no, I'm not trying to do something that they're going to look at me to vote me out. And that's the problem. Because as I'm watching CNN last night and I'm switching over to Fox, I got all the screens up. It's kind of weird. It's like I'm watching NFL Red Zone. I forgot the man who does NFL Red Zone, Scott.
I know you. Yeah.
I wish he was the one running the board because that shit would have been great last night.
Much smoother.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it. And as they're talking about such and such is projected to win for this Senate seat or for this particular seat, yada, yada, yada. Each one of them all look the same. And you can tell all of them have been around the block for several years. All of them. And then we have those things like the first, we had a lot of firsts for Black women. But I want to make this very clear. Just because a certain group has not done something, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the thing to do just to prove a point. That may not go over well for people who hear this, but I don't give a fuck. It's fine. Just because there's never been a Black woman or a Black man or a man this or woman that doesn't mean they are the right decision for that particular seat. And that's why I get into the whole party aspect. We've gotten to a point to where we're just voting because we don't want to be the outcast of our group. Meanwhile, and that goes back to what I said at the beginning. There's a lot of white people who look me in my face dead ass. And I know what that face was. It was not comfortable. Because they were looking at me like, oh man, I know he looking at me like, damn, you put him in office. No, lady, I just want you to spend his bread. But that's how they feel. So it's not right at the end of the day off of the hate side and all the other shit that shouldn't be a part of the election part. But I get it. If you're like, hey, brother, the economy ain't right. Today's point, hey, look, man, what these folks are doing is not in our best interest. Which is, it gives you a really interesting thing. The president, the individual who was just elected president for the second time, we forget the fact that this mofo was impeached not once, but twice. And my question is there any validity in being impeached anymore? Is that it's like
because of that separation of party? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, do they just give
Nobody's holding these people accountable. It doesn't matter.
I want you guys to know. So Donald J. Trump was impeached for the first time on December 18, 2019, and the second time on January 13th of 2021. The first impeachment was for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, was related to claims that President Trump had allegedly solicited foreign interference in the 2020 presidential election and then refused to comply with the subpoenas for documents and testimony. The second impeachment is for incitement of the insurrection, came in the wake of the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, for which President Trump was accused of encouraging protesters to commit acts of violence. We just forget all that shit happened, didn't we?
No, forget about forgetting it even happened. His slate just got wiped clean because he's president-elect.
Yes.
He was about to go down for something totally different.
Right.
Remember, they revamped everything. I forgot the gentleman's name.
Right.
Because he's about to get fired. But he was coming after Trump if he didn't win this election. And they've already said, he's like, yeah, we pretty much got to end this whole thing as far as bringing it to trial.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of to me. So basically, and that's what the Supreme Court ruled months ago, if people weren't paying attention, the president is immune.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The president is immune. So you can run for president and just get away from shit.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, they about to get me for this body. Hold on a second.
Whoa. Not necessarily if you're white.
Hey, the way the Supreme Court put it in there, if you're president, period.
Yeah.
That joint is white, bro.
Yeah, let Barack do some stuff like that.
But they would never let him in.
Nah.
That's the difference. They would never let him in.
True.
So let's jump to another other side, a very sensitive topic, because there's a lot of blame going around and people acting surprised. So let you guys know, the black man did not let you down. The numbers show they did not.
Black woman definitely didn't let you down.
Yeah, the percentage of black men who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris is in line with what actually voted for Vice President Biden. I think that's what it wasn't there.
What was it, like 80 something?
Yeah,
it's 85 or something like that. It was a white woman.
It wasn't there.
Down.
Now the Hispanic vote did move a lot.
That one was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, but it didn't move a lot. But this election is doing exactly what the parties wanted you to do. Like, instead of focusing on the issue, which we don't do a lot, we start infighting. We start blaming people for stuff. Meanwhile, today I wanted to try to come as prepared as I could for the shit that's about to really, really pop down right now. One, the Commissioner of Immigrant Affairs in New York, I don't know if you guys saw that, did a press conference today pretty much stating that, regardless of the election results, all of the illegal immigrants, don't be afraid. You know, you're not going, don't self-deport. You can still use emergency services and shit like that. Meanwhile, you have a rising of folks, and this is off social media because I had to pull some of the stuff in because we talked about it today. And this is the type of thing that people who put Trump in office are saying. And this is a direct quote, one social media person. That's why we have, and this was in response to what the commissioner said, that's why we have excess crime. They jump in the police, recruiting members to join their gangs, sucking down NYC economy, drive-by scooter robberies. Not like y'all protecting them, but crying government not giving you enough money to support them. First of all, they got scooters. They got scooter gangs in New York. I've been in New York a couple of times. Like, this is a type of thing that has been created going into this election and what people are saying. It's people saying stuff like, we the people did not give you rights to fund free benefits and hotels for illegals when you don't even do that for the everyday Americans. Keep on with the nonsense because Trump would just stop federal funding to New York. So this is talking about New York alone. And while I'm watching that commissioner, that video, everybody in that shot was either Hispanic or black. Won't no white people in that shot. None of them. Which, yes, we do have an immigration problem but that's also part of the fact that you have offices, they are overwhelmed with the amount of people coming into the United States, and they just can't handle it, man. They can't. And at the same time, the same people saying this shit, to be real with it, are the same ones that are utilizing a lot of these legal immigrants for the work that is done. That nobody else wants to do. That nobody else wants to do, seems like.
The only problem, the problem that I got with immigration, I don't feel like it's the number one problem. Like, we got a whole situation brewing over across seas that we keep, and
right
putting out and put in, which could potentially start World War III. That's the biggest issue, in my opinion. And then also, the economy, like, everything is freaking expensive. Like, it's becoming harder and harder to be able to really survive out here, especially, for those that ain't making a certain amount of bread. But my biggest issue with the immigration piece is, I would say specifically in New York, right down the street from where my wife grew up at, there was like a mental hospital that I guess closed down, and the city took over. And essentially what they did was they took that hospital and they turned that into like a camp for immigrants, to the point where they were getting everything. I mean, they said they was getting Social Security. And I'm sitting up here like, wait, what? Like, they were getting amenities that American citizens aren't even getting, or that's fighting to get, the ones that was born and raised here. So for that, I'm like, yeah, that's OD. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the problem is our country's been in existence forever, and they don't even have a true immigration system.
Well,
when you hear people sit back and say, yeah, well, I'm for it if they come in legally. Okay, well, go look at the system of what they got to do to come in legally.
Come in, right.
Because you wouldn't want to go through that right now.
Right.
But see,
that doesn't even exist.
I'm going to ask you this, Dave, because you would know better than me. So for one, let's just put something aside. So for a lot of people who are thinking that illegal immigrants turn this election, no, it's not. Like they in most cases, if you're a legal immigrant, you cannot vote. Okay, you can't be arrested. I get that. But I have a question for you. When it comes to owning land, homes, and stuff like that, what is that process like, Dave? Can that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, people can go through their own channels to get things by, but yeah, if you're doing the proper way, that's not happening.
Got you.
But look at me.
Got you. Yeah. Exactly.
You get what I mean?
Exactly.
So I mean, you got to think about things in this way. Hell, hoarders got more rights than homeowners.
Yeah.
And they don't even own a home.
That lets you know a problem right there. And I asked that question. I knew the answer, but I wanted to get somebody who's in it. I know that because there are homes that I know have been purchased by individuals, and just looking at how the premises is inhabited lets me know that probably the process of purchasing that land or that property, if you go check everything that's going on there, it ain't up to snuff. But it's a case of I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine type thing. So, but on the other side of that, though, is there's a bigger problem at play, because that particular property, home, something like that, there is it going? Would it have been sold or purchased by someone else, not an immigrant? It's a real interesting space, because right now, for everything I've been reading, they're hell bent on a massive deportation situation. I was watching an interview, and they were talking about the amount of money that it will cost to do the massive deportation of illegal immigrants in the country. And that shit was like in the hundreds of billions of dollars, bruh. And the gentleman, I can't remember his name, he was like, his honest answer was, what's the cost? What's the cost of national security? And we know it's not a national security issue. It's really not. It's not, because if you look at things, if you look at terrorism, more so domestic terrorism, every time you see something pop up, more times than not, them folks ain't illegal immigrants. Every time you see a shooting at a school, they're not illegal immigrants. They come from the same community as the individuals who cast their ballots yesterday. Same community who has these same immigrants come and take care of their communities that are controlled by HOAs. It is interesting how this goes. And I know this podcast is something we started based off of video games, but I say we unfiltered conversation, and this is the things that we talk about. And there's so much.
It's on the mind of the people.
Yeah, it's so many questions, man. Yeah, it's so many questions to be asked, because everybody's trying to find a way to point the finger. And really, at the end of the day, you can only point the shit at yourself. Really? At the end of the day, if you want change, go vote. Hold people accountable. Accountability is the biggest part of this. If you want change, get some of them old ass representatives out of office. But we also know that we're fighting an uphill battle in certain communities because of this. But what else are you going to do? Boy, oh boy, we got 4 years of some shit on our hands. It's the Hot Seat Podcast with your boy Sean, Earl, Dave. Like Earl having technical difficulties because the man holding him down. We got anything else outside of electoral stuff? We got any not so breaking news or anything cool we want to talk about? Because I don't have nothing, man.
It's been a long 48 hours.
It really has been.
Last couple days.
Not so breaking news. Ted Cruz won his Senate seat. I don't know what the fuck Ted Cruz has on folks. I don't know how he keep getting reelected, but yeah, for Ted,
That's you know what? That's what you really gotta look out for. That Congress race, the race for who's going to have control of the Congress and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't.
But yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is.
It's wild to me, man. Like it's I feel like a lot of people, man, they really need to take a look at politics and look how this thing goes, man, and see how they can really affect things leading up into the presidential race. The presidential race is I feel like that's like just a show at the end of the day. Me personally, I mean, you have the president, but a lot of stuff happened in that Senate, in the Senate and Congress, the House and stuff and so forth. Something that folks really need to pay attention to. But you still got folks like Ted Cruz, man, still out here winning seats. A cat who's come under all type heat. I don't understand. And I know
what?
there's like people in Texas, but hey, what do I know? Shit.
let me give a shout out to some local stuff going on.
There you go.
Shout out to Also Brooks for being the first Black woman to be senator for the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aaliyah Gaskins, who has now become the first Black woman mayor in Alexandria. Just some local stuff going on. So shout out to the area, to the DMV area. What's the name? Shoot. DC got back in, even after all the
Are you on me? Yes,
turmoil.
brother.
Hold on.
Trayvon.
I can get it. Yeah. I want to make sure I'm getting names.
Yeah, Trayvon White. Are you on me?
Okay, brother? Yeah. There you go. So shout out, So it's one of those things. Don't think it's just on the on that whole national side of things. That's why we always tell you, pay attention to your local. Pay attention to your local. You want some change it there. Change it right there. Because that is supposed to be the extension of your voice.
I also want people to understand. I really, you could tell a lot of people didn't pay attention in high school or middle school because the ignorance to the process is ridiculous, and this is for all folks. What y'all, somebody was on IG and they said that they went to the voting polls and they voted for the presidential candidates with no problem. When they were trying to vote for all the other stuff, they was having the error. So they went out, came back in, did it again, still the same situation. So they said, you know what, we're done. As long as I voted for the president, I'm good. And
wait. No. They went out and came back in.
No, they went. They told the people, and I guess they made them redo it. Yeah, made them redo it or whatever, and it still was doing the same thing.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you can't do stuff like that because now you give Trump all this ammo because this man, the Republicans own the House. You know what I'm saying? They got the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it ain't too much stuff that's stopping him from passing these laws with no problem because his party is they have the House. So but this is what people got to understand. Like, yo, it ain't just the presidential candidate. Like, they're the face, but it got to go through the Senate. It got to go through the House. Like, so I just need I need more emphasis to be placed on that. And as an educator myself, I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to be talking to some of these teachers to say, yo, what is your curriculum in history? Because I need these kids to understand the process for how the government works.
Hey,
but so we have a bigger problem because these kids don't even know who they damn governor is.
Hey, by the way, for all the felons out there, your president is a felon, so make sure you tell these jobs that are asking for that on the application to go kick rocks.
Yeah, you kiss my ass. He said the president could do it.
Let me ask y'all a question. How y'all feel about something? Do you guys feel that the more, I think I know the answer, and I got a follow-up to this. Do you think it's better to have a lot of people, a lot of voices to get to one result, a good thing, or less to get to come to a result? So I said, do you think it's better to have a lot of voices so everybody can be heard, or less people to? I said
I think I know what you're saying, but it matters.
Yeah, right.
It honestly matters because, for example, sometimes when you have more voices, the message gets misconstrued. Gotcha. It's kind of like Pat, when you pass the message type thing, and by the time it gets to the person, they're like, "What the hell you say?" Like, what was the message? But there's power in numbers as long as you're on one accord. True. How you think the movement for the civil rights and things like that happened.
Right.
So it really matters. But once again, it's that one thing of you got to be on that same accord.
Yeah.
And that's so hard for human nature because everybody wants to be somebody.
So
People want to be that person.
The reason I asked that question, so in Baltimore, question H on there was an amendment to shrink the size of the city council. Okay. And it was defeated, so they're not going to shrink it. And it's one of those cases where you look at, some people believe that shrinking it actually will allow for things to get done. To your point, you got too many voices in it to things to get done. And the reason I asked that question is because I'm thinking about, of course, I live outside of Baltimore. I'm still within Baltimore City. I'm in Baltimore County, but I'm outside of Baltimore. I'm in overlay. So it's weird how the thing happens. But one thing I notice as a person who lives here is something we talked about on the real estate side, Dave. There's parts of Baltimore that is insanely nicely developed. Mm-hmm. But you also have a lot of individual developers in different areas. Case in point, you may have a person who may develop in this one row. He may do 2 out of the 10 brownstones that are there. Mm-hmm. Go over a block over, he might do 3 out of the 12 that's there. So you have all these, and you have so much going on, but you're not developing an entire block. Because if you go through certain parts of Baltimore, you're like, ooh, wee. But then you're like, damn, that's a nice ass house. Wait a minute, why the hell we got a crackhead right across the street? So it's one of those things where you got too many hands in the pot and nothing being accomplished. Because I'll say right now, I don't know how many hands has to do with this. I still hit crazy potholes in the city. I'm not talking about outside the city. In the city. Well, the money is. I don't know how many hands you need to decide that, hey, we need to make sure we pave this fucking road correctly. So it's one of those weird things, man. Like, I know everybody wants to be heard. But to Earl's point, some people just ain't reading. They need to go back and be like, hey, man, you just saying no just to say no, yes to say yes. And then at the end of the day, nothing gets accomplished. I don't know what you got off that. I don't know if I don't know if that's a question for you guys or what do you think about that type of situation when you have, you don't want a dictatorship. You don't want that. But sometimes less is more, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I already pretty much stated my point on it. I didn't know if you had something.
So the question is, do you want a dictator? Because my thing was
no. Do you want? Do we have too many goddamn representatives?
In what capacity?
I don't even know at this point because I feel like there's so many different. Like in Maryland, you don't have necessarily mayors per se. You got all these different counties, so that's a whole different thing you got going on, and council folks and stuff like that. You have a lot happening. So as you can go around the state, you get different parts of the state look different, like any other. But it's so different to get things done because the amount of council folks you got. In some of the states, you look at New Louisiana, you got wards and shit like that.
I mean,
it's at a certain point, like it almost like is a detachment from the governor because you have so many people in his or her ear that like there's no possible way that you could actually make things better for the entire group because you got so much in your ear, like you don't know which way to go the other. I guess that's the question.
I mean, I think on the flip side, do you want one person to have control over all of these different entities? You know, because like, how is that going to be effective? Because that's too much ground to cover for somebody to really have attention and put real attention into, you know, these entities.
And every area is different.
The needs are different and things like that. So do I agree? Yeah, I think it is valid to have, you know, representation in all of these areas and stuff like that. It's just more so about finding the correct representation. you know.
Right.
And I'm not even talking party, because that person might be good for that area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I if you're in rural America, I can't speak to that because I know nothing about the needs of which are, outside of just the basic human needs. But, I just think it's just about, having the adequate representation. But I do think, there is a need. I don't think it's overkill. What I do feel like is our government and the system needs to be revamped. Especially like this electoral college stuff.
Dave was just talking about that. Go ahead.
I don't understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Governors and all of this stuff, and they got popular vote. Everybody do popular vote. But for the presidential election is the only one that does electoral. You know what I'm saying? Why don't governors do popular electoral for the counties? They do popular vote. So I don't understand the rationale for having that. The other thing is too, I'm gonna just say it like this. The people are always bigger than the government. But the government is smart because they know how to keep control over the people. And one of the biggest way to keep control over the people is keep them divided. Putting labels on them, social constructs. Because that's going to cause division. Because then if I keep you divided, now I start putting bugs in. Oh, we better than y'all. Nah, we better than them. And it just keeps them divided. So this is going to deter people from saying, you know what, we're going to unify, we're going to come together, and we're going to go to the government and say, nah, we're not doing this. Like, y'all going to tell us what y'all doing with our money. We're going to tell y'all how y'all going to use our money and stop spending our money over to fund wars that we have no interest in. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But it sucks. But I'll end off my point with this. The government is what it is. It is what it is, right? And there's things and agendas that people have that we have no idea about. Everybody is focused on their everyday life. You know, every now and again, you have some things that trickle down to us, you know, especially the adults. But everybody's focused on their everyday life. All I'm going to continue to say is I try to keep my life very simple. I don't get into the who's going to save us and things of that nature. I keep it very simple, and I say, at the end of the day, God is the one that's in control. Okay? No matter what you believe in, I feel like everybody need to get right because he's the one that ultimately is in control. And when he sees fit to say, you know what, enough is enough, y'all just not getting it, cool. Y'all could be done. So, like I said, I keep it very simple. They run the government, whatever. I serve. I just make sure I'm right with him. That's all I care about. That's how I keep my peace of mind.
Fair enough. I think it would all be just great if we just resolve this in like paper, rock, scissors. Pretty simple to me, but that's just me. Podcast with your boy Sean, Earl, Dave. Yeah, but we talk about video games too. Let's talk about something real quick, man. That brings everybody together. I don't know if you guys saw that Grand Theft Auto 5. Yes, we're still waiting on Grand Theft Auto 6. And this is more of a video corner type segment. So I guess and even want to give me the background. See the man's trying to hold me down because they didn't even give me the background that I wanted for Grand Theft Auto. There we go. Anyway, so Grand Theft Auto, they've reached a new sales milestone, hitting 205 million copies sold since the first game released 11 years ago. The incredible milestone has been shared directly by Take-Two Interactive, the parent company of GTA 5 developer Rockstar Games. Which is interesting because I just saw something just recently that Take-Two has sold their private division over to an undisclosed buyer. I don't know if you guys saw that. So it's interesting that, something that we enjoy on a day-to-day basis. You see a lot of turnover and change happening in the video game world. We saw what happened with Microsoft acquiring Activision, those guys there. Take-Two, they sold private division over as well. So and we're still getting an update on Grand Theft Auto 6 at the time, as they're still in development for that. It's between that, the new Xbox Game Pass Quest. Where do we have we reached a point in the gaming space to where there's nothing new exciting per se? I mean, we had our little moment with college football, or is it an age thing, or have we just like the technology has got to a point now where it's like there's nothing that really blows us away when it comes to new gaming, news, tech, or is it more like a nostalgia type thing? You guys think?
I think it's a couple of things. I think age has to play a part in it because it's just time in general to be able to even play the things that you do like.
True.
Number two is I don't think they market the correct way, to be very honest with you.
Gotcha.
There used to be huge build up to games. Sometimes I don't even know a game drops until I just see it on the dashboard. Like there used to be huge build ups to games. Now that joint just drops. I think something that either game system could do is offer more game demos where you start playing it for free for a certain amount of time up to a certain point, and then if you want to continue on, you got to buy the game.
That used to be a thing, right? That used to be a thing, right? That used to be
they're doing that with like the latest Life is Strange. I was going to buy it anyway, but I said, you know what? Let me just do the demo first. Let me just see if it's worth buying.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's those type of things that you just got to approach things in a different way. I mean, think about it. We're not talking $20, $30 games. Some of these games are 60, 80, 100, whatever.
Insane.
You just don't know a game. And that's for you to try it out and go, oh, no, this ain't it. Shout out to the golfing game we got for like $120. But
still have that. I still every once in a while play around just because I got it.
Yeah. So I say that because that's how you pull these people in.
Right.
But that whole nostalgia is missing. You know what I mean? You don't have the lines every single Friday waiting outside of GameStop. That's what's doing them in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just set up in a different type of way.
It is. What you think, Earl?
Sorry, my connection is.
Yeah, we better wrap.
I wasn't even going to mention. Yeah, we better wrap. I wasn't even going to mention though. I wasn't going to mention because. But what's your take, man? On that gaming aspect, like just again, like Dave said, that the ageism aspect. But even then, it doesn't feel like it's. It's just like okay, nothing is. There's no effort put into the rollout of it.
Game.
Just in general. Just in general, like it's. I mean, think about this though. Before you answer, think about how much we got excited about college football, and it still did not get the marketing that I thought it deserved. After all that time, I mean, you would have thought they would have ran marketing things with ESPN and everybody else, and I don't remember ever seeing that. And even though, it was.
You know what? Before you answer, Earl,
go ahead.
But I'm glad you just brought that up.
Yeah,
I just noticed the other day. I don't know if y'all did. I didn't discuss it with y'all. that I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I got to do some research on it. I think I saw the other day that you can pull your player from college football into Madden.
Holy shit, ass. Hold up. You know what?
Oh, really? They probably heard the cries. And
Why don't you push that? That should be a major goddamn. I should turn on my Xbox and that joint be right on the day. I forgot how I saw it one day.
yeah, no, yeah. But you know what? I think it's
that might cause people to buy college football that weren't buying it before.
Yeah,
because of that reason.
I think it's a couple of things. I think one, the gaming is like kind of become oversaturated. It's too many games. Two, I think these gaming companies understand, like, I have a product that you're addicted to. Now, no matter what, you're going to buy it. You know what I'm saying? And whether I come out with, whether I have a bad version of it, it doesn't matter, because you're going to buy it. And then what I'll just show you, and I promise you to fix something, make it what it was or what it was before when y'all liked it, and y'all will be right back. And that was Call of Duty. Call of Duty come out, no matter what iteration of it is, people are going to buy it because people love Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Same thing with Madden. You know what I'm saying? Madden didn't have anybody to compete with until now, college football. So now I bet you they start making upgrades, and I bet you that next Madden is going to be the shit, because college football is the shit. And college football is like, you know what? We already got Madden on the ropes. You know what I'm saying? We could work out a situation where we are partnering, where, you know what? If you can upload your player into this, then you have a reason for people wanting this to get mad. And that's only off the strength of us. Yep. You know what I'm saying? But they're like, yo, they could really corner the market. And then you saw the same thing that happened with basketball. Live was doing their thing until NBA 2K came out, and Live started being on some bullshit. But when they got competition, I was like, you know what? I got you. I'll give the fans what they wanted. What happened to NBA Live? They was gone. So, like I said, I think a couple of things. I think it's oversaturated, and two, I just think these companies know, like, with certain games, we got y'all in the chokehold, and with certain demographics and games, we got y'all in the chokehold. You talk about Minecraft, and you talk about, what's the other one? Fortnite.
Yep.
But specifically Minecraft, with the kids, man, that shit is a hit.
Yeah. And it just keeps
Roblox, shit is a hit. To the part where parents $4 for these kids.
See, we discussed that a while ago.
They know what they're doing. That's just like Jeff Bezos could say whatever the hell he want to say. Ain't nobody going nowhere with Amazon because the product is good.
I don't know. He did. I think he don't do it.
He don't hear us.
Yeah, he
don't. Yeah, I've been saying that about like games like Grand Theft and Call of Duty and stuff like that. You don't even have to release a new game. Just add on to it. Shoot, you do a big drop, I'll pay $20, $30 to change up the whole game and add new maps and whatever else you got to do.
Yeah.
Or you can just drop, City Skylines 2 and just
just give it up. Just
I want you to give that shit up.
Give it up. You know what's sad, bro? You know what's sad? They just announced filming for Blade is gonna start next year. So that means Blade is gonna come out before City Skylines.
I dislike everything about you right now. It's your boy Sean Xavier and Earl Dave, the Hot Seat Podcast, man. Of course, this podcast wouldn't be what it is, man, if we had taken our Xbox Live conversation and bring it over to the podcast space, because we talk about politics and shit too. It's Barbershop Talk. So, of course, man, you can find me on Xbox at Sanaa2X. Shout out to the folks who've added me to their friends list. I've seen some weird names come up. It's kind of weird, whatever. And to the surprise of many, to a lot of many, your boy has dove into some Call of Duty. ain't that some shit?
Round of applause.
I grabbed Dramamine. I've been playing the campaign. It's been working out just fine, man. Look, hey, and now I cannot not play it because I done got so far into the campaign. I got to know how the shit ends. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is. So it's fun. But I'm still disappointed with City Skylines 2 not dropping until probably after 2025. They would drop the season that Donald Trump is the new president. That's some crazy shit. But stuff like that. That's fine. Yeah, it's not 2X. What you got, man?
All right, it's Storyteller. I'll let y'all know soon once I tap into Life is Strange. I already downloaded it though. Shout out to some of the shows rolling for streaming, like Lincoln Lawyer. If you're not into that show, man, jump on that show, man. I even got my mom down here for a couple of weeks, and I got her hooked off the first episode. So it's one of those things. Like she'd be looking at you like, "Hey, so we gonna watch that right now?" I gotta go back to work. Okay, yeah. So you saying I can watch? So yeah, man, it's deep. Lincoln Lawyer. Shout out to that.
Only one more episode left of The Penguin. We got one episode left for the first season of The Penguin, which we told you what we felt about it. It's fucking fantastic. But we got one episode left. What you got, Earl? What you got going on over there?
NJ Fatboy 973. I ain't gonna lie. I haven't really been on video games for the past week and a half. I'm at a juncture in my program where I had to write. I'm still writing. I got to write 20 pages. Got to have 50 references. So I submitted it the first time, and I think I misunderstood what I was supposed to be doing. So now I got to redo it. So my goal is to try to get it done by Sunday. Working on it since last week. So I'm making some strides, but that's taking my life right now. So
taking your life. I don't like it.
By the way, shout out to Sean for hitting me up not too long ago talking about we going to the Capitals Penguins game this Friday. Of course, he would do that on the year that the Penguins suck. He just want to live his life this year. He's shining. My team's hard.
The greatest year of sports fandom ever. I called my boy up and I said, "Hey, what are you doing on November 8th?" He said, "I don't know." Yeah, he said, nothing. I said, "Well, cool. You ain't doing nothing. We're going to the Caps Penguins game." What do you mean? I already got tickets. So at that point, you got to guilt them into it because I know him. You'll be like, "Damn, he bought tickets already."
At that point, you already said we got the tickets. So
tickets already bought, brother. Tickets already
homecoming.
Yep. I apologize. Shout out to the Capitals, man, who's doing that thing. We're gonna see if Ovi can get, Ovi gonna get that record. Ovi gonna get that. He's gonna hit that record, man, for the most goals ever. Greatest year. Shout out to Washington Commanders for grabbing Marshawn Lattimore. All types of shit.
That was a great move. Very good move.
Fantastic move. That hamstring healed up quick as a bitch, like Devontae Adams going to the Jets. It's great.
Let me ask you a question before you go. Y'all going to the Super Bowl now?
So what?
Y'all going to the Super Bowl now?
I don't know. But I know at the beginning of the season, the odds of them making it to the Super Bowl was 12,000 plus 12,000. So if you were to maybe bet a few dollars on that, and if they by some chance get there, you may make a little bit of bread.
Let's cut this because Sean, you starting to sound like a Cowboys fan. But shout out to y'all. Yo.
That's not what I was hitting towards. I said,
shout out to y'all, dog.
Is this the beginning of it's our year?
Yeah.
No, that's not what I was saying. What I was trying to hint at is the odds. If you were a betting man, say, hey, you know what? I ain't got nothing to lose. A couple of dollars plus 12,000 odds.
I got you.
Possibility. It's a possibility.
It's
great. It's great to see. It's great to see when even though you didn't expect that stuff, you feel like, hey, we got a chance to do something, try to build on it. Contrary to what they're doing in Indianapolis, which they pretty much dismantling their 4th round draft pick. And this is something we can talk about on Football Talk. and benching Anthony Richardson for the rest of the season. If you guys didn't know.
Oh, that's what they said?
Yeah, they benched him for the rest of the season. So that lets me know that the general manager is trying to kind of like trying to say, hey, that was my pick. He was a dud. It was some bullshit.
Nah, then trade me then. Shit.
Yeah, they got his rights for the next. Yeah, they got his rights. It's
lock me up.
It's a real bad business.
Away the key.
It's a real bad business, man. Shout out to those guys, man, who made picks. Shout out to the Cowboys fans who are still struggling. You know what I'm saying? You know.
That's all right. Anthony Richardson will be on somebody's roster next year. It's cool.
Yep.
And
not next year.
Nah, they might move him.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody who voted for the 78-year-old president and complaining about the 80-year-old president. I'm just saying. It's the hot seat.
The hot seat.